Folks, in this video today, we're going to look at how to build your own individual first aid kit, also known as an IFAK, and save some money. So there's a lot of folks out there that are trying to get an individual first aid kit and IFAK, and they see a lot of pre-made items available on the market from various different companies. Sometimes people look at these things and they don't either know how to use the equipment inside of it. Maybe they don't need some of the stuff that's come into the pre-made kit. So I'm going to give you an option here in this video on building your own individual first aid kit and putting the gear that you need that's going to work best for you, that you know how to use. Now, that being said, in this video, some of the things I'm going to be showing you, you definitely do need some training. So this may not pertain to you on the things that I have chosen to build out my individual first aid kit. But I'm going to show you a site where you can kind of pick and choose and build your own individual first aid kit that works best for you and your family. Just remember when putting something together like this to make sure that you know how to use all the equipment that you've decided to add to individual first aid kit, or at least someone in your household. All the gear that I'll be showing you in this video is from ArmyNavyOutdoors.com, and I will add a link down in the description as well as a pinned comment. Now, all the medical gear in this video is brand new. This is a MilSerp, or also known as military surplus store, and they have a lot to offer outside of just medical gear. If you're looking for MREs, if you're looking for clothing, if you're looking for military cots, anything you can possibly think of, you're going to be able to find at their store. And for you folks out there like to support American-owned businesses, this is one of those businesses. So if you like American-made products, this is the place for you. All right, so enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and take a look at the individual first aid kit that I put together for myself. All right, so let's take a look at all the things that I got for my individual first aid kit, also known as an IFAK. Now, we're going to start out with the shell of what I'm going to be using, this pouch here. This is I don't know if you can see that there, USMC first aid kit. Also, you can see with the word IFAK. This is a military SERP bag, but you can see it's in excellent condition. I like the fact that it has MOLLE, it has your straps on here, so you have some options as well. And the zipper runs super smooth. And again, I like this open format because it gives me options on where to put all my stuff and how I want to stage this IFAK. I do really like the condition of this. This does have this Velcro aspect, which most likely I will stage a tourniquet here or here, or maybe two, in this IFAK. And again, like I said, it does have, let's say if you get some sort of moisture in here, it does have those holes there for that as well. Even in that pouch, there's an additional hole there for the external pouch. But this is just the pouch or the shell that I'm going to be using for the IFAK. And again, I do like the zipper. It's very, very, very clean. And of course, you have this little flap here that kind of folds over to kind of give it some of that waterproofing or water resistant kind of feel to it once you have that over the zipper, and kind of cleans that edge up. All right, so that's the pouch. Another thing that you can add to an individual first aid kit, because you can see it's paper thin. You can print these out, you can order them online, whatever you want to do. It's just kind of like something to kind of put some information on if you plan on handing this off to a medical professional. Now, some of you folks may want to know what TCC stands for, and it stands for Tactical Combat Casualty Care. Another terminology that you may have heard also, or an acronym, is called MARCH. And basically, it's just a proper order of treatment when you're assessing a patient. And MARCH basically stands for massive hemorrhage, airway, respiration, circulation, head injury / hypothermia. It's just an acronym used by TC trained individuals to kind of help them remember the proper order of treatment. Anyways, let's go ahead and put these two things to the side. And this is just a pair of gloves. I grabbed these. I have boxes and boxes of gloves, but this already was wrapped up nice and neat for me to apply to that. And they're dirt cheap, folks. And you can just kind of stick this somewhere. It is labeled with North American Rescue. Again, like I said, everything in here is going to be American-based products. I'm also grabbed some duct tape. You can make your own if you buy your own duct tape, if you want to save a couple of bucks there. But sometimes, you know, if you see something and it's affordable enough and you want to grab it because it's already pre-done, do so. But duct tape has 1,000,001 uses, and a lot of uses in the medical field as well for all different things, from, you know, wounds, you know, to kind of like closures, to protecting your heel from blisters, and the list goes on. I'm not going to try to dawn on that too much, but a lot of you folks out there who are into emergency preparedness probably have tons and tons of duct tape. And then this little marker. I don't have very many of these. I think you can buy them at other places, but they're so cheap you can just find them over at A&O. And the big thing for this is to mark on a tourniquet. And I guess I'll grab the tourniquet and I'll show you that what I mean, but I'm adding this to the individual first aid kit because you need something to write with. All right, so I grabbed 2 tourniquets in this kit. They are CAT North American Rescue tourniquets. And I'll explain the tourniquet here in a second, but this is where you're going to write your information on the tourniquet because you need to put the time and all that information associated with what you're putting on here so that when your patient gets transferred to a medical professional, they know how long that tourniquet has been applied to their patient. All right, so with this kit, I've added 2 CAT tourniquets. And the reason I add 2 CAT tourniquets is because 1 is none and 2 is 1. And that's how I usually look at things as I'm preparing things or building things out. Because let's say there's multiple limbs, you have that issue that might arise. Let's say that you have 1 tourniquet on the arm and you don't want to release that tourniquet, and there's reasons why that you want to apply a second tourniquet because the bleeding has yet to stop. So there's different reasons why you would want to add multiple tourniquets to an individual first aid kit. And I really like the CAT tourniquets. There's a couple other ones that I do like, and CAT just stands for Combat Application Tourniquet. And it's basically used as a life-saving device to stop life-threatening bleeding from an injured limb. It uses a windlass system here. It uses a patent internal band to apply pressure around the limb to stop the blood flow. And one other thing I like about the CATs themselves, they are a true one-handed application tourniquet. It's easily to quickly control life-threatening extremity bleeding, so these are super important, and knowing how to use one applies to that as well. So if you're a person out there who's just getting into this and trying to build an individual first aid kit, make sure that you know how to use the gear. Some people will say, well, watch a YouTube video and they'll show you how to use it. You can do that, but nothing is better than hands-on training. So if you can reach out to, let's say, your local fire department, your local sheriff's department, maybe some other organizations that may have these trauma classes or stop the bleed classes, that'll train you on how to use some of the gear that I'm showing you in here. Now, there's different levels to that, because some of the gear that I'll be showing you in this is definitely like, level 3, level 4 kind of stuff. But a lot of you folks have been watching me for a long time know that I have a history in the medical field in regards to in the military. So I'm trained, and I do take classes on a continual basis to kind of stay up to date on a lot of different things as well. There's never enough training. That's how I look at it. There's never enough learning and training that you can do in regards to medical applications and practices when you're going to be assessing a patient in a trauma situation. Moving on to another piece of equipment that I've added to this kit, and some people are probably looking at this like, Grey, what is that? So this is an eye protection device if someone has an eye injury. And the reason I'm adding this to it is because all my first aid kits that I've had in my vehicle, a lot of my individual first aid kits, do not have any eye protection or, something to protect the eye if it's been, damaged or hurt or whatnot. And I thought, you know what? This is affordable enough to add to the kit. And I need to start adding stuff like this because I ran into a situation and I didn't have this and I really could have used this and it would have come in handy. I had to improvise and it worked itself out, but I thought just having something like this would be more beneficial, that I have it readily accessible, which is actually made for the eye. All right, so next we're going to be looking at chest wall seals. Now, again, I want to state this. There is no rhyme or reason to the order that I'm showing you this equipment. I'm just kind of grabbing it and going it and describing it, what I'm adding to the individual first aid kit that I'm building out. Anyways, these are another North American Rescue product, USMC HyFin chest seal combo pack. Usually you want to buy them in a combo pack as well. There's vented, there's non-vented. There's a couple variations of these, and there's, of course, different applications for these as well. A chest wall seal is designed to prevent air from entering the chest cavity through a wound. Though it may slow bleeding down, it won't necessarily stop it. I just want to throw that in there just to kind of give you some information in regards to that. But chest wall seals, let's say someone gets shot in the chest or something like that, and there's a through and through. That's why you want to kind of have like a dual pack of these chest wall seals. Like I said, this is geared towards chest cavity wounds. And like I said, they can come in a lifesaver. If you're a person that carries a firearm or something like that in your EDC or everyday carry, and you have something that's going to make holes, you may want to have something that's going to plug holes. And I know it sounds weird saying plug holes, but you know, with the chest wall seal, because the word seal, but hopefully you kind of gather what I'm trying to explain in this video and why I'm choosing to have these. Because if I'm out on the range and there's an accident and someone gets shot in the chest, I want to have this readily accessible because it's all about saving someone's life. All right, moving on to the next item that I'm going to be adding to the kit. This is kind of reminiscent of your Israeli compression bandages, also known as emergency bandages. But here, this is a North American Rescue compression EDT. I did want to make note that they do have some instructions on here, which is great. But again, training is key to using all of this equipment properly. So what would you kind of use something like this for? Basically, this is a first aid device used to stop bleeding from traumatic injuries in a pre-hospital emergency situation. Basically, they're designed to apply pressure to the wound site to help stop blood flow. That's the main issue, is to help add that pressure to, you know, stop the blood flow. And again, I want to reiterate, this is a pre-hospital emergency situation where I'll be using something like this. Let's go from here and talk about compressed gauze. All right, so here we have compressed gauze, and I'm adding 2 of these to the kit. And so what would you use compressed gauze? You know, there's so many different types of gear, and that's why I say I'm going to be redundant in this, is, you know, getting the training. But compressed gauze is sterile, absorbent, and soft medical gauze used to treat moderate to severe wounds with heavy blood loss. It's often used in combination with a compression bandage to control bleeding. It can also be used for other purposes, such as backing gauze for hemostatic dressings, wound bandaging, covering up large wound areas, and stuff like that. It's an old saying, funny, and if you ask people in the medical field, they'll tell you there's just never enough gauze. And believe it or not, this thing there's a lot of gauze in there. I don't know if it has the actual specifications on here in how much the gauze itself has. I'm going to see if I can take a look at it, but I'm getting old and blind and can't read. I think it says 6 to 8 foot, somewhere right around there. Why don't they make this bigger? You know, and I guess me and Rudy are getting redundant with that, but you can see right there where it kind of gives you the information in regards to that. But yeah, 6 to 8 feet. So between this, I have between 12 to 16 feet of compressed gauze. So let's kind of move on to something else that you folks may be familiar with. Is another type of gauze, which is like a hemostatic gauze, or hemostatic gauze. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this combat gauze, some quick clot combat gauze. Also, you can get this the same place I've gotten all this gear at, which is Army Navy Outdoors. I think this is another. Is this another North American Rescue? I don't know. Anyways, so there's a difference with this type of gauze. So the quick clot combat gauze is embedded with a blood clotting hemostatic agent that speeds up the blood clotting process. The use of hemostatic agents may be one of the easiest and most effective methods of treating hemorrhage. It can be used as a first-line hemostatic agent for use for treatment in severe hemorrhage. So you can see how a lot of these things correlate with one another, and having the gambit of all the different types of gauze, from compression to from compressed gauze to a compression bandage to the hemostatic agent. You want to have kind of like the array of all 3 of these, and that's why all of this stuff is going in this individual first aid kit, because it all applies to stopping the bleed. So here's one thing that you normally don't see in a lot of pre-bought or kits that you're kind of pre-buying online or whatnot, and is something for burns. And this is BurnTec, of course, BurnTec First Aid for Burns. What's really cool about this stuff here is it's a hydrogel dressing. It's a little bit different from other burn first aid dressings due to the stable sheeting of the hydrogel structure that's in this this kind of gauze here. I don't want to say it's gall dressing, but you kind of get where I'm going with that. Basically, BurnTec cools the injured area and ensures a soothing effect for up to 24 hours, folks. 24 hours, which is really, really cool. It's a sterile, non-stick dressing. It is absorbent, trapping the wound secretions and bacteria within the gel, But the dressing itself is permeable to water, vapor, and oxygen, but impermeable to bacteria, which helps protect the wound from external contamination while allowing it to breathe. Like I said, burns are nothing to mess around with, and having this not only in your IFAK, just because you never know what's going to happen in the field, but even having stuff like this around the house. I have a couple of different variations of stuff like this, but these things are awesome, and I've been kind of privy to actually get to use this in a training kind of environment, using the BurnTec gear. And when I saw this, I was like, this is really cool, and I think this would make a great addition to add to the individual first aid kit that we're building out here today. All right, moving on to something that you've probably seen in a lot of IFAKs. These are nasopharyngeal, however you want to pronounce that. Basically, it's easier to just call it an MPA. You'll see this 28FR, which means 28 French, which is the size. This is kind of a standard size for most adults. This one is pre-lubricated. And there's some other kits that would come with this that's not pre-lubricated and would add lube to kind of like this, because you don't ever want to use something like this without that. And for you folks out there that have actually applied these or had these applied to you, know that these can be very, very uncomfortable for folks. But I like this one because it's pre-lubed and ready to go. Zip that off and use it. So basically an MPA, depending, it's a clear, flexible tube that's inserted into a patient's nostril. The purpose of the MPA is to bypass upper airway obstructions at the level of the nose, or the nasopharynx, or base of the tongue. It also prevents the tongue from falling backward on the pharyngeal wall to prevent obstructions. Again, you don't want to use this stuff unless you absolutely know how to use it. Now, again, they kind of show you a diagram. So in an absolute emergency and you had to wing it, it's just, the problem is by winging it, a lot of times you can create more damage by using something improper and making your patient uncomfortable. And that's why I feel training is such a huge important part of this video. And I keep on reiterating that because I want everyone out there that wants to build an individual first aid kit and wants to save a life or wants to help a loved one, their son, their daughter, their grandma, their grandparents, their loved one, whoever it may be. I want them to be properly trained so that they can prevent something really bad from happening, and having the tools necessary and then know how to use these tools to save a life. That's what it all comes down to, folks. The next thing I'm going to show you is something that I'm adding to my kit. And I say don't add it to your kit. I know it sounds counterproductive, but don't add it to your kit unless you know exactly what and how to use this. All right, so the last thing I'm adding to my kit is a decompression needle. There's another term for it called needle thoracostomy. Basically, it is a procedure utilized in emergency to remove air trapped in the pleural space caused by tension pneumothorax. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But basically it means that the air cannot escape and it will compress the lungs, which can no longer expand properly. Knowing the signs and symptoms of a tension pneumothorax can be very essential in order to promptly treat it with a decompression needle like this. But so I'm going to pause it right there in the aspect of, again, this is something that only someone who really knows how to use something like this should add to their kit. It is a life-saving piece of gear. But again, you can do a lot of damage if you don't know how to use this properly. So only purchase something like this if you truly know how to use it. So all right, folks, so this is kind of what it looks like when everything is packed in here. All the gear that I had showed you, where I placed my CAT tourniquet at. We'll go ahead and open this up and kind of give you an overview of how everything looks on the inside. And some of you folks may be asking, well, Gray, what did you do with those tourniquet holders? And the reason I got those is because I wanted to add that to my EDC bag. As you can see here, I wanted to apply one to my EDC bag. And this fits nice and tight and firm so that it's readily accessible, that I can just pop this and pull the tourniquet from here. It doesn't get in the way of everything else. The tourniquet is secure. And that's kind of the way I like that itself. Now, I do have a video coming out for folks that have been requesting this video probably for almost a year now, asking me about what's inside my bag, my everyday carry bag. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move that over to the side and I'll kind of show you that. One thing is I do have my tourniquet staged, so it's readily accessible, so I can just pull that out and it's ready to go. I like to have my tourniquet staged where it's readily accessible. And then of course I can put it back in there, but I do keep that part here. I could add a secondary one if I want in here, which most likely I will. But I wanted to add another tourniquet, like I said, over there to the EDC bag, because the one I have in there is kind of harder to get, and I wanted something readily accessible. So you can yank that and use that out. Again, what I really like about the bag is this clamshell design, because it makes everything so quickly, readily accessible. You know what I mean? Going back to that whole March and TCC stuff that I was talking to you about earlier. But as you can see, everything fits in this bag nice and neat. You can see I got my gloves, my duct tape, my quick clot, my compression bandage, I got my decompression needles, I got my compressed gauze here, got my eye patch, my marker back here, I got the chest wall seals, I got the naso there, I got the BurnTec back here. The only thing I did add to this that I didn't show you guys was this medical tape here, because I do buy this by the case, so I have tons of this stuff on hand, and that was just an easily accessible thing to add to this. And you could add it on the outside if you want, but it just fits right there and holds everything nice in place. But as you can see, everything fits in here great. And I think this is going to make a nice individual first aid kit a lot more affordable than buying something that's pre-made. And again, like I said, maybe you want to sub out certain things that work best for you, because you're probably saying, well, Grey, what about scissors? You know what I mean? What about, you know, shears, scissors, shears? Where are they going to go? Well, I can easily add that right here, which I will. I have some North American Rescue versions that have some Madison supply. Depending on what preference you have, I'll be adding those to this bag as well, because of course with most IFAKs you need a pair of shears. So I'll add those to this kit here, and then I think we'll have a well-rounded kit. You know what I mean? There's things that you can subtract and add depending on that. Maybe you don't want to add an eye patch. Maybe you're not familiar how to use a naso, or especially a decompression needle. So those are some of the things that you may not need in a setup like this. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how it can be more beneficial to you, where you can buy everything individually and build your own kit and make it yours, so that you know what's in here and what works for you outside of buying something that's pre-bought. All right, so those are the items that I chose for my individual first aid kit. The items I chose, I am trained for and know how to use. The items that I've chosen for myself, which again, I want to reiterate that if whatever that you happen to build out in regards to a kit like this, make sure you know how to use the stuff, because when an emergency presents itself, you want to make sure that you're educated on the products that you're using and the patient that you're using them on. And again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video, and check these folks out. Again, the link's down in the description as well as a pinned comment. They have a lot of things to offer to the community, the emergency preparedness community, and I hope that you guys will take advantage of that, especially you folks out there that like American-made products. So other than that, folks, if you got any value out of this, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and check out the rest of the channel. There's all types of content on the channel that may interest you in getting ready for what may come down the pipe, from small emergencies to full-on shtf. You never know what's going to happen every single day. America is just getting crazier and crazier as we look at it. Anyways, folks, I'm going to drop it there, and I hope, again, that you guys take a chance, click on the link, and check these folks out. Very good people. I've gotten to talk to them and get to know them, and I'm very excited to continue to work with them more in the future. As always, folks, remember, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll catch you guys on the rebound. God bless every single one of you amazing people out there, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video.